All right, welcome everybody. It is episode 2 of the Burnt Out Educators. Yes, we made it back. Nobody thought we'd make it back. I'm Coach Joe Marino, and with my wonderful colleague, Jordan Collette. How are you, Jordan?
Doing well. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic. It's teachers are now getting into this swing of thing, and I got to tell you, it feels really weird not being in the classroom right now. I miss it. I miss it a lot. I really do. But I also have my teacher friends who look like it's June right now. They look like they're just all, yeah, they look like it's June, and here
They're
we are in
fried.
October. Yes, and I've taught in 2 different states. So Texas, where I'm at now, they start in August, right? So they've been in a couple months. Jersey, where I originally started, they've been in barely a month. And the people in Jersey are more frazzled than the people in Texas who've been in a couple months. What are we going to do today? What are we talking about?
So we're going to be talking about learning loss.
Okay.
It's particularly relevant just because everybody wants to talk about it when it comes to coronavirus and COVID, but it's actually a problem that's been kind of around longer than that. So when it comes to learning loss, what has been your experience and what you've seen when you were in the class?
I'll be honest with you, it never felt like it was addressed. It never did. Even as a student, I don't remember it feeling like it being addressed. If they felt you had learning loss when I was a kid, because I'm a little bit older, you went to summer school. That was really it. You went to summer school. Then I noticed when I started teaching, they would put us in, okay, you got to stay after school, this or that. But I never felt it was properly addressed. Now that they see, because of all the testing, the big drop off. And the crazy
Mm,
part about this is when schools are graded, there's a learning loss category that's been there forever. But I've noticed a lot of companies are putting out, tech companies are
mm,
putting out knowledge assessment type things, trying to see what the student knows before we go in, because all learning's prior learning. Like for you, being a math guy, if you're taking
mhm.
Algebra 2, what do you have prior?
You have to have algebra, you have to have pre-algebra. There's steps and there's a path that you have to get to be able to get from point A to point B. But in order to know whether or not you're able to do that, you have to test out of it. And whether you're talking about that from a overall curriculum standpoint, from pre-algebra, algebra 2, or you're talking about it from a specific one course situation where you come into it, maybe it is a summer school, having some sort of way to test that knowledge, a knowledge assessment. When you have that test up there, then you can go ahead and see exactly where they're at, gauge on what they're still missing, and dial in. That way you can be
Yes.
more effective and cover and identify what is the gap. You can't close a gap if you don't know it's there.
And I don't think it should be done. A lot of teachers will do at the beginning of the year. Let's see what you know. And they give them 100 questions, right? Just to see what they know. See, this is what the one thing about teachers. This is when you find out if a teacher is really dialed in, when they admit to themselves they were a kid and a student once too. Because if someone threw 100 question test the first week of school in front of me, it doesn't count. Well, you just said the magic words. It doesn't count. We want tech to come into play, right? We could give them a
Right.
book. They're not really going to read it, right? We know you got your readers and you got the kids that don't like to read. But if we can put something together to make it fun and interactive, they're going to do it. And the one that always pops to my mind, and when I first started teaching, was Kahoot.
Mm-hmm.
The kids get to play Kahoot, and they would play against each other. They would give themselves crazy names, and all that
Mm-hmm.
fun stuff. And all it was there was teachers putting together units prior. So they're just
Right.
doing knowledge assessments. Hey, I'm going to teach this. Let's see what they know about X, Y, and Z. So I love that. I love that with the Kahoot. I believe we mentioned we were talking about Edmodo.
Yep.
It's another like pre-quiz type of Kahoot. I think the Kahoot's a little more fun for the kids, but I think whenever you
Yeah.
put these assessments on a computer, I think they like them to begin with. But
Mm-hmm.
it comes to your favorite. You get your favorite thing out of either of them. And what's your favorite thing, Jordan, that you get out of any of these quizzes and tests?
Data and the fact that you can win.
I
So
thought you were going to go win first. I thought you were going to say win
well,
first.
it's the word on my mind from my previous time in business is gamification. That's the reason why it works. Is you have these kids and they're sitting there going, "Am I at the top of the leaderboard? How am I doing? How many points did I get?" But the question is you get the points because we can show that you understand the concept. And putting concepts together is also an interesting process because that's where people start doing project-based learning. You can cover multiple subjects all at once, and that helps close different gaps because if you're just doing one particular course, Kahoots, Edmodo, things like that work really well. But if you're actually trying to apply it and put it into a real world application, that helps you see, okay, were they just repeating back to me what was in the book? Or did they actually understand it? Because with the PBL, they have to connect the dots.
Project-based learning. The theory is awesome. Like, I love the theory because as a kid, me and you are we like a lot of tech. We like fun stuff. We like to be intrigued, and projects are awesome. Like, I loved getting a project as a kid. I think I'm the only kid who really liked a book report. You know, you had the project where you made something in history, or you dissected something in science. I like the book report. I like to be able to put my twist on it. But the problem with project-based learning is it's multiples of kids. You try not to put kids with their friends because they never get to work, or all the kids that you would consider your smarter kids go together, and now there's a drop off, so you want to make everybody equal. But the thing that I think that is missing in the classroom a little bit is the competition aspects, right? And you say gamification, and I was a head coach for a long time, and you said it, win. Kids love to win. Video games, I think, are more competitive than any sport out there. You want to be the absolute best. So if a kid's doing a game in school like Kahoot, and they see that they're the best, and they have to study to be the best, they're going to be the best. So
it's true.
If tests were handled more in a gamification way that technology can allow it, it's one, going to make it easier for the teacher because everything's there and created for them. And two, the kid is going to be more involved in it. It's going to be a lot better. Anything that we can kind of make a competition, and I understand you can't make everything a competition. And
you can. Trust me, I'm competitive.
Well, you know what?
But one of the things about competition is it's a team sport. And I know that team projects might not always be the best, but if you're thinking about team, think of education as a team. Right now, we always put so much pressure on ourselves as teachers to get from point A to point B and do everything and make sure that we have everything done and the curriculum's right and this is right. Involve the parents, involve everyone else. And there's ways to do that with technology. Keep the kids accountable. If they're going to be online doing things, make sure that the parents understand, hey, this is what's going on.
Parents are the kid's first teacher, right? You're their first teacher. As a teacher, when a kid walks into my classroom and classes say 45 minutes, I want them to know something they didn't know 45 minutes ago. As a parent, you want that kid to know something they didn't know yesterday. And it could be anything. You know, you have people that are crazy pop culture trivia, right? The useless information. My mom calls me the king of useless information. But then you also have stuff, the important stuff. But it doesn't matter. Whatever's important to you makes you want to learn. And that's the key. People are probably trying to figure out, how does this come into me saving time and not being burnt out? Because it's there for you. You don't have to go create it. So you don't have to go whip out that lesson plan and spend hours or your entire summer. I knew a teacher who would rent a RV, right? And they would go down to the beach in Maryland. I forget what it was, Assateague Island, for 1 month. And they would sit on the beach and they would write their lesson plans for the entire year. Like, that's awesome. That's dedication, but we don't have to pull these 13-hour days. So the knowledge assessment, to wrap it all up, we're going to do everything in under 15 minutes, and we want to give you a way. So we mentioned to you Kahoot. So check out Kahoot. You might have to create the Kahoot that you're looking for, but so many teachers share their stuff, right? But you have Bright Thinker. Bright Thinker has a knowledge assessment already set. So Jordan, why don't you explain the Bright Thinker aspect, and we'll close it out with that today.
So with knowledge assessments, like we talked about before, they're built into the curriculum itself. Again, you don't have to design the curriculum on the beach. You can just go to the beach, the curriculum is already written. But the way that the knowledge assessment works is each one of the units has multiple blocks where it'll have a part, then it'll have a quiz, it'll have a couple lessons, it'll be a quiz. But at the very beginning of each unit, there's a knowledge assessment, and at the end, there's a unit test. You're not doing one knowledge assessment for the entire course. You're doing one for each unit.
They have a beautiful name in teacher world for this. It's called 4-point methodology, where you'll have 3 to 4 quizzes or unit tests. The thing is that one of those quizzes or unit tests might be an activity that's a little more, kind of like a PBL to end that particular lessons. And another thing that you just talked about, so now the teacher gets to decide what's missing. Okay, here we are in world geography. They know everything about North America, except they don't realize what islands are attached to it. Okay, so now I go and I add something in, and that's all I have to do. And here's a perfect, see that? This is why we work well together.
So when it comes to knowledge assessments, like I said, you get the data back. You figure out what they understood, what they don't understand. They can dial in. If there's certain things they're struggling with, you can actually give them extra assignments to really hone in that until they've mastered the topic. But overall, it's a system and a process where, again, the purpose is to close those gaps, fix the learning loss.
So today we finished off with trying to save teachers time where they don't have to write to get everything that a kid's missed. Make it easy on yourself. Do a knowledge assessment. You could create the Kahoot. Sure, you can. But teachers share things all the time. Go check it out.
Correct.
The same with Edmodo. Check it out. And the third one today is Bright Thinker, where it's already created. All these will provide you data. Some of them more data than others. The Bright Thinker one that you showed, the amount of data that's going to come out of that knowledge assessment, you could probably send this kid to college afterwards because you're going to have every single thing broken down. So there's a lot of cool stuff. And I will say this, being in the middle of October, and me and Jordan are shooting this on a Saturday, and we don't look completely run down for the first time in our careers, where Saturday we would be like, oh my God, I got to grade these papers. I got a food shop. I got to go hang out with the kids. I got to do this. I got to do that. We actually have time to breathe. And we're also able to help other teachers figure out how to do it. So Jordan, I think I appreciate you directing traffic today. And I know I talk a lot. That's still the Jersey in me. I'm very sorry. But what we want to tell people to do is that our great marketing guru that helps us, Miss Chelsea, has a bunch of links on here. We want people to tell us what they want to hear about. Jordan has so many different technology pieces that he can add in. And me being a teacher for the last decade and coming into that point where technology was being pushed, but I was still an old school guy, I've used them all. So with the two of us, we can come up with a solution. So in the comments, put down what you would like. Do you need something for technology for lesson plans, for gamification, for setting up projects, discussions? You can have them online and they can be graded. Like, tell us what you want to hear, and we'll be more than happy to do it. Jordan, you said this last night. The first 5 episodes, we're going to just have a lot of fun until we get ourselves dialed in. But I think once we start getting everything from our viewers and our listeners, it's going to be great.
It'll be good. It'll be very, very good.
I think we're at our 15 minutes, and we probably went over because you're going to laugh, but I set the alarm, but I never hit start. So.
But in the meantime, focus on.
Hey, well, we started recording a half hour late too because I was having technology problems. Remember, I'm the teacher, and I had technology problems because I never turned on my headphones.
Well, we'll close those gaps. You guys close those gaps. And again, learning loss was the topic for today. We'll go ahead and hit you guys up next week.
Thanks so much for watching the Burnt Out Educators. On behalf of Jordan, I'm Coach Joe. We'll see you guys next week.